Welcome to Team 11's Capsim Foundation simulation presentation. Before we get started, let's introduce the members of the team.
I'm Angie Lamb.
I'm Sam McCall.
I'm Nick Pease.
And I'm Kira Fulford, and I will be filming this presentation. To give you a quick overview of how our team did, let's look at our different rankings. In sales, we finished third. In profitability, we finished first. And in market capitalization, we also finished first. Now let's get into the analysis. Here's our intended strategy.
So the intended strategy that we chose to work with was broad differentiator. So this involves maintaining a product in both the high-tech and low-tech sectors of the industry.
Since we just had one product in each high and low tech, we continuously performed research and development on each of them each year.
We also decided to raise capital in the early rounds of the competition in order to gain a competitive advantage in production and marketing.
Broad differentiator was used in both the practice rounds as well as the competition rounds. Here are our strategy modifications that we made throughout the practice rounds and the competition rounds.
So as with every strategy, there's going to be some changes that we have to make. We learned most of the changes that we have to make within the practice rounds as we performed very poorly here.
In the practice round, we did not take out hardly any short or long-term debt, which caused us to get a lot of emergency debt. We took this into consideration when we were doing the competition rounds. Therefore, we took out lots of short and long-term debt at the beginning and did take out any debt in rounds 5 to 8, and we're constantly paying back our long-term debt early.
In our practice rounds, we also did not buy sufficient capacity for our products to keep up with the demand. And so as compensation in the later rounds, we had to buy a lot of capacity, which ended up leading to a loss of profit. However, we learned that during the competition rounds, we created a strategy, and we decided to produce 115% of our expected sales so that we would potentially end up with a surplus. And even still, our product sold out a few times.
We also had a misunderstanding of several of the game mechanics during our practice rounds, which led us to make mistakes that hurt us overall. These included awareness, accessibility, and most importantly, capacity. We didn't really understand how it worked. Also, in our competition rounds, we made more effective use of the HR component as well as TQM.
We learned a good way to maintain a competitive edge was to analyze our sales price at the end of each round and to adjust it accordingly to be competitive still.
Here are our recommendations for the incoming management team.
Our first recommendation is for research and development to introduce 2 more products, one product in the high-tech segment and one product in the low-tech segment to compete along with our other already dominant high-tech and low-tech products.
A good marketing recommendation would be to continue the fine price adjustment that we learned that works out well. So that's just redoing reports at the end of each year and knowing whether your product is worth more or less than competitions and pricing accordingly.
Thirdly, we would recommend you focus on production. You want to begin producing slightly more product than the anticipated sales forecast. A good number to work from would be 20% more than the anticipated forecast.
In terms of finance, we'd recommend continuing to avoid issuing long-term and short-term debt. With the current market dominance that Andrews is in, there shouldn't be a need to issue any bad debt.
Here are our key takeaways from the Capsim Simulation Foundation.
We found financial statements to be an incredibly important tool in this simulation, not only for understanding your finances and planning them for that year, but also for estimating your sales forecast for the year.
We found that new venture management was another key takeaway for us. We learned that there's a lot of key steps in having a new venture be successful, and it was something that we were dealing with right from the get-go as we introduced the new product in the very first round.
Cost and pricing are another big takeaway from this simulation. We learned to monitor the industry and other available products to determine prices that would best suit our product. This allowed us to be as efficient as possible, even if the products were not the best available.
In terms of marketing, we learned the importance of having high accessibility and high awareness with our products when competing with our competitors. Even though our competitors had similar prices and performances for their products, we were able to have an increase in sales.
On behalf of Team 11, I hope you enjoyed our presentation and learned lots.